Okay, so I know season 1 was phenomenal. It set an incredibly high bar that many shows, let alone a season 2, couldn't even live up to. That being said, man, this was a miss. Hey yo, what's good? Welcome to The Gist. With me, Jared. So Arcane Season 2 is all wrapped up. The animation was still awesome, and it's probably the only thing I liked about this season. There were some sequences where the animation and artistic style changed. Some of it worked for me, but there were times where it seemed a bit excessive and didn't help the narrative. As much as I like the music and the score for this season, there were a lot of times where it felt too music video-y for me. To speak a bit more about the narrative, the pacing of this season was way too fast. They introduced a good amount of plot points and characters, but didn't explain them very well. The story was very condensed, and the moments they tried to elicit fulfillment actually ring hollow. I didn't mind where the story was going and most of the different mechanisms introduced. We just got there way too fast. It probably would have been better to flesh out this story for another season or two. In light of how riveting and compelling the stories and characters were in Season 1, Season 2 is a big disappointment for me. There are a few spoilers I'd like to mention, so proceed with caution. I didn't like the use of time travel and multiverse. Thankfully, they don't lean into the multiverse a lot, nor point to it as a solution per se, but the use of time travel felt very lazy and convenient. As mentioned earlier, there was a lot, and in my opinion, way too much introduced in this season. We've got the gang war for power in Zaun, Noxian occupation of Piltover, Jinx is a hero, cybernetic hex-fused beings, witches and sorcery, multiverse and time travel. Oh, and Vander is alive again. That is a lot of big plot points to introduce in just 9 episodes. And the execution falls short for me. There were a few that I'd like to rant about for a bit. Starting off with Jinx. Jinx was my favorite part of Season 1, and I didn't like the execution of her storyline this season. She went from on the run to being a guardian big sister, kind of not really reconciling with Vi, becoming a symbol of hope and leader for the people of Zaun, kind of but not really saving Vander, wanting to kill herself, and then sacrificing herself to save Vi. Again, that is a lot to have a character go through, especially if you want to make it meaningful. I believe the audience needed more time and context to see what Jinx is going through, to understand what she's thinking as these pivotal moments happen. Honestly, I think it would have been better for the gang war for Zaun to take the majority of the season to resolve. We could have seen Jinx on the run, try to protect herself, and then as Isha becomes more important to her, see Jinx become less selfish and more selfless. And then from there, you could have her grow and develop to become the symbol of hope and leader for the people of Zaun. We didn't need everything else. A few other things I'd like to mention. I like that Caitlyn became radicalized and extreme after losing her mom. Her quest for vengeance made her a loose cannon and short-sighted. I was intrigued by that part of the story. However, I didn't find her turn back to Vi at the end of the season satisfying or justified at all. Even though Caitlyn and Vi consummated their relationship towards the end of the season, it felt flat for me because of the timing of which when it happened in the context of the overall story. Their interactions from the previous episodes leading up to it didn't constitute that this was the moment. It felt forced. One last thing I'll mention, I didn't like God-level Viktor this season. The dude was way too powerful, and his defeat was also unfulfilling. Once again, this season fell short in fleshing out the concepts and plot points they introduced. And that's the gist to my spoiler-free and spoiler-filled thoughts on Arcane Season 2. I'm just so disappointed with how this season turned out. Loved how it started with episode 1, but by the end, it was an unsatisfying mess. Heimerdinger was completely wasted and sidelined this season. And the Dr. Revit guy was another plot mess. But anyways, clearly there's a lot more I could talk about when it comes to this season, but I'd like to know what you think. Did you like Arcane Season 2, or do you also think it fell short? Hit me up, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll catch you next time on The Gist.